Name.
Anastasia, and Freshville.
Linda Cremonesi.
Where do you work?
University College London, but I work also a lot in places like CERN and a place in France called Medan.
I work in the office. I work at home. I work at the lab. I work at CERN. Sometimes I work in Antarctica. Sometimes I worked in a mine. Pretty much everywhere.
What's your job like?
I'm a detector physicist, so I build, design, and test lots of different components of detectors. They're ready to go in. Sometimes, for example, I'm climbing all over scaffolding or climbing down ladders deep into big cryostats. Yes, it's a very hands-on job, which involves lots of being in a lab, as you can see here.
What's my job like? That's a difficult question. I don't know. My job is cool. I spend a pretty big part of my day coding, designing software for data analysis for different physics experiments.
How does that differ from her job?
So Linda is like my counterpart. We work on some projects together, and I do a lot of the hardware things, and then we record data and collect the data from the tests that we're doing. And what Linda does, she's a software wizard.
1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4.
So she analyzes all of that data and does really clever tricks and things to interpret the results and use them and actually extract physics from those results.
Anastasia is more of a hardware physicist. I'm more of a software physicist. So our jobs are sort of overlap. So there's quite a lot of things that we do together. There's quite a lot of things of software that she does, and there's quite a few things of hardware that I do. I'm not great at it, but let's not advertise it.
And rereeling.
What's the thing you like the most about your job?
I really love using my hands for work and paying attention to detail when you're putting little components and things together. And what I love is that you have something really small, so you can solder something like a resistor, a capacitor, a tiny component, and then it becomes a part of this huge, much bigger thing, a detector, I don't know, the size of a building or something like that.
The thing that I like the most about my job... I think the thing I like the most about my job is the reason why I do it. The fact that I'm in physics and in research answer some of the most interesting questions about the origin of the universe and how the universe evolved.
What's the thing you hate the most?
The thing with hardware is that it's very frustrating sometimes, which is both good and bad. So there are times when you are trying really hard to make something work and it really won't work and you're not sure why. You're trying various things, various tests, and you can't figure out why. And that can be very difficult and frustrating. So that's not pleasant. But then when it finally does actually work, it's an amazing, satisfying feeling. So it's like a love-hate thing.
I don't know if there's a thing I hate the most. There's loads of small things that are a little bit annoying. One of them is traveling. They tell you like, oh, you know, with this job you're gonna get to travel in so many different places, it's gonna be awesome. The reality of traveling for work is actually a lot more stressful. You're in beautiful places, but often you're like locked inside a lab. You're trapped in a mine most of the time. You actually don't get to enjoy the travel, and especially when you're away for work, you're like with so many long hours and you end up super tired. So yeah, that's one of the small annoying things, but I don't think I hate it.
What's the strangest place you've been because of your job?
So for me, it's quite difficult to answer that because to me, these places are quite normal because I go quite often. But both the place at CERN where we have proto-June dual phase, which is a giant cryostat, is quite unusual. You have to get down there climbing through a ladder, for example, through a manhole. You are surrounded by all of these beautiful membranes that look like you're somewhere in out of space, maybe in some strange laboratory. And then also the place I go to in France is very strange because you have to go into a tunnel. It's one of the longest tunnels around, 14 kilometers long. And for example, you can't just drive in, you have to have a special car, you have to get out at a special spot, you can't cross the road on your own, so it's very difficult to go in there and you can't leave just easily either. So it is quite unusual in that sense.
In McMurdo Station in Antarctica. That was quite a strange place where to do physics. It was also really exciting. I've been in a mine in Japan, in the Kamioka mine. I used to work on Super Kamiokande. Other strange places, at least it was a strange place for me. I spent about a month and a half in a place called Palestine, Texas. I don't know if that was more challenging than spending time in Antarctica. It was similarly challenging, I would say.
Tell me one common misconception about physicists.
Common misconception about physicists would be that you would expect them to be male, and it's true that it's a male-dominated industry, but we're doing better. Or not industry, sorry, field. You would expect them to be older, probably quite geeky and nerdy.
Got it!
And especially in my case, you wouldn't expect girls to be in hardware. So I'm proud to lead the charge in women in STEM.
A common misconception about physicists is that we're not creative, I think. I think being a physicist and being a researcher is very much a job about creativity and problem solving. When you have in front of you the beauty of the universe, or you need to be creative to get to the next step in research.
And finally, how do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
Personally, I hope to be doing what I'm doing with perhaps a more permanent position, if that's okay to say.
How do I see myself in 5 years' time? I hope I'm gonna have a job. Is this like an interview question? Are you gonna give me a job?
What? No.
What's your job like?
What's my job like? Laura, avresti potuto dirmi queste domande prima, così mi preparavo un attimo.
It's almost like a little underground bunker in a way. It's not, but it goes deep down into, I don't know how to explain.